Welcome to Hard Rooster Labs. I am the Blender shill, Hard Rooster, and today we are going to make a badge mod. If you're new to modding and automation, and I suspect you might be if you're just doing a badge mod, I'm going to leave a link in the video description below to my first video in this series that will talk about the stuff you need to download. You're not going to need Blender for this particular mod, but you are going to need Unreal Engine 4. You're going to need the automation tools. So that video will cover how to get Unreal Engine and the tools. The wiki page covers how to start your badge mod using Photoshop. So since that's pretty well covered and I don't use Photoshop, I'm going to show you a little bit about how to do it using GIMP. Since I'm more of a fan of open source software like Blender and GIMP, I'm going to cover a little bit about how to do this in GIMP. I've already got a little design set up, and I'm not going to teach you how to make a design in GIMP. There are numerous tutorials on YouTube which you can access to teach you how to make just exactly what you want. The only guidance I'll give you at this point is keep it fairly simple. You don't need to worry too much about gradients and shading and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to use the tools that Unreal Engine gives us to create reflections and to create metallic look and things like that. You can go with a gradient if you want. You can get as creative as you like. I'm just going to do this very simple badge here. It's two colors. And I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to do kind of a simple tutorial and a little bit more of an advanced one that's not covered in the wiki, because I want to talk a little bit about how you can make like this gray area here chrome, right? And this red area here more of a matte colored, and you're going to have to do some maps and some trickery with nodes in Unreal. But I think I'll save that section till the end. We'll cover that a little bit later. Most of this is going to be pretty straightforward and simple, so let's follow along and get started. So you might get to this point in the wiki where it's talking about creating the alpha channel, and let's zoom in a little bit over here. Creating the alpha channel, and the idea here is to create a black and white kind of background where black is transparent and white is white you can see. So the idea is you'll be able to see that badge and the rest of this will be cut out. Because if you don't do that, you're going to end up with this, and we don't want that. As you can see, I've basically done the same thing as the basic mod. I've got this white area that I'm going to want to be gone. I don't want to see that, and I'm just going to want this kind of chrome rim here and the chrome inner the chrome inner badge. And the way you're going to do that in GIMP is you just kind of come over here to the layers tab, and you right click on it, and you're going to add a layer mask, and it's going to give you this little pop-up window down here. And let me see if I can, and we're going to just go with a white full opacity mask, and if I add that and click on it, everything is transparent. Well, we don't want everything transparent. I want to, not everything's transparent, everything's visible. No, everything's, whatever. What I want to do is I want to make it so I can't see this white area in the game. So what I'll do is I'll grab my little magic selector like this and like that, and I'm selecting the white areas in here. I'm going to, now that I have, you have to do that with the badge selected. Then you come over here and you select on background. GIMP is a little bit funny to use. You're going to go in your fill bucket, grab just straight up black, all zeros, and over here we're going to fill, and now you're going to see it's become transparent. And if you look at, you can't really see it too well, but you can see your alpha mask has been created over here. You've got white, which represents the stuff you can see, and black, which represents the stuff you can't see. Alright, so once you're that far, all you have to do is come over here and export it. And we're going to export it as, and I'm going to go and find a folder I just threw on my desktop real quick, right there, and I'm going to give this a name. I'll call it something like HRL, up here. Call it HRL _logo _ diffuse. and that's going to be in a TGA format file. We don't want to save it as a PNG, we want to save it as a TGA, and that's covered in the wiki as to reasons why. A little over my head, not sure why, but just do it this way and all will be fine. So we're going to export and hit the export button again, and we're good. So from here, the next thing we're going to want to do is create a normal map. And to do that, let's take a look at the wiki again. We're going to use Substance Player. And in order to do that, you just kind of come over here and there's a link in the wiki, and I'll put the link in the bottom of the video as well. And you just click on it. Click on the link and you'll be dropped at the Substance website, and you can just download it for Windows and install it on your machine. And then once it's installed, what you'll do is, I don't need that window open anymore. Once it's installed, what you'll need to do is find your automation SDK folder, which is covered in the first video, how to get that. It's part of the workshop tools that you're going to download from Steam. All you got to do is remember where that is. So you'll find the automation SDK folder. You're going to open up that, click on Automation Game, open up Plugins, open up the example badge, go into Content, go into Badges, go into Badge Tools, and right there is your custom badge link to start your Substance Player, and that's going to load Hamish's little program that he made for us. And so what we do from here is we come over here to where it says None, and that's where we're going to get our file. And we're going to open up the file for the badge that we just made right here. And let me go ahead and make this so I can actually see a nice big icon. I'm going to open up the diffuse TGA file. And as you can see, already we have a little bit of a normal map starting to appear. So not exactly what I want though, is it? Because it's missing the letters. In order to get the letters, I'm going to have to play with some of the colors until I can start seeing some of my letters. I'll have to play with the alpha mask and the various colors and the intensity. And you kind of need to play around with these sliders until it starts to just kind of come out. And so I'm going to keep playing with them a little bit until I get about what I'm after for a normal map. Kind of want a sharp looking normal map. I don't want anything too dull. Okay, well that looks good to me. That's fine. All right, so let's go ahead up here into the top corner. It says Export. Export as a bitmap. Still have to change the format to bitmap even though you hit export as a bitmap, and then hit export, and it's going to export it. Oh, I put it in the wrong folder. Let me go back. Let me do that again. Let me make sure I get that in the right folder. Desktop, HRL logos, select the folder, export it. All right, now if I go to that folder, which is on my desktop, I have my normal map and my little diffuse little guy there. From here, we can just go straight into Unreal and start making our badge mod. Alright, so again, this should have already been covered in the last video. You just basically go to your Epic Games launcher. It'll kind of give you this splash screen. You'll go over to your library, and where you can launch your 4.21.2 version of Unreal. Of course, it'll be up here if you're all logged in and ready to go. So let's go ahead and launch Unreal. Alright, you'll be greeted with this screen here, and you should be able to find your project, which you've already moved, and this was already covered in the last video, so if you don't know what you're looking at here, refer to the last video, and you'll find your automation game project that you have, and we're going to open it up. If this is your first time opening the Unreal project, it may hang at a couple of spots, at 45% and about 95 or 98%. It's kind of normal. It takes a while to load. The slower, older your computer is, the longer it takes to load. Also, the other thing that might happen is you might get a little pop-up here that says compiling shaders, again, if it's the first time you've ever opened Unreal Engine, and that can take a long time. Even on a good system, it can take a long time to compile shaders. So you should be greeted with roughly this. The intro, it's just basically this is the project. And if you're not seeing a lot of this stuff, you need to make sure that you come down here to where it says View Options. You can change the scale of your folders if they're too big or too small. And you also want to make sure that Show Plugin Content is checked. That way you'll see all this stuff. And what we're looking for first is the example badge content. We go into example badge content, open up the badge, open up the example badge, and this is the stuff we're going to start working with. We'll need to kind of copy and paste all this stuff, because when you go to create mod, because this is how we're going to start our badge, if you try to create a badge mod, it's not going to work. It'll error out. I have tried doing a blank project. It didn't work for me, so I just do new fixture mod. And so once there, you click on new fixture here, come down here and give it a name, and this will be like HRL, you know, example logo, something like that. And Rooster Labs is the author, description, it's a badge. And let's go ahead and create that mod. And it should just give us a empty mod with a blueprint in it, and we're not going to need that blueprint. And here we are. So we have our new fixture, blueprint, just delete that. And then we'll have our example. Where do we go? Where are we at? There it is. HRL example logo content. So now what I want to do is find the example badge content. Go to the example badge, and I'm going to take the blueprint for the example badge. I'm going to take this example badge material, and I'm going to take the example badge mesh. I'm just going to, that was with control. If you hold control, and it's basic Windows stuff, hit control and click, and you can select the ones you want. Go ahead and drag this down to our HRL example logo. One day I'll find it, and I'll drop it in here. I'm going to copy it in there. Alright, now I'll have my blueprint, a material, which is a material instance, and a mesh. One other thing I need to do before I go too much further, and this is the part that's kind of broken right now, we're going to open up the material instance. Let me make it a little bit smaller. And over here on the lower right, let me see, make sure you can see that. Right down here in the lower right of that window that you get is a master custom badge material. I'm going to right click and copy and minimize this window. Come in here, I'm going to Control V to paste it. And so now I'll have the master and the instance. Let's start naming this stuff so that we can like make sense of it. So this is going to be the HRL example logo underscore BP for blueprint. Then this is going to be, whoops, I'm going to rename the mesh, right? I'm going to call that HRL example logo mesh, like that. This is just for my own sanity. So for the material instance, you got this one that says master. So let's go ahead and we'll just name this HRL master underscore mat. And this one I'm going to call HRL underscore instance mat, something like that. Okay, so now what we have to do is start importing our goodies. And so we're going to just import the stuff that we just made right here. We're going to import our normal and our diffuse texture. Let's go ahead and import those guys, and you'll see they pop up. Give them a quick save, and we're going to open up our master material first, because the instance guy doesn't really work right now. So we got to actually open up the master material, and you're going to have all these confusing looking nodes. Let me make that a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Get that a little bit better zoomed in. So you got all these nodes. Don't freak out too much. This is not that big of a deal. What we need to do is come down here where it says badge normal and click on it. And over here on the left, we can just change the texture to our texture. So I can minimize this window again. We can just drag it there, right? And since this is the normal map, we need to drag our normal right there. And then this guy over here is the badge texture, which is this guy, our diffuse map. So we're going to just drag that here into the diffuse map. What we can do now is we can hit apply, and you can see you're going to get this little faded out looking guy here, just fine. Whoa. No big deal. Now we can open up our material instance, right? So that was the master material. Now we can open up the material instance and double click on that. And did I apply that one over there? I did hit apply. Okay. So now I just gotta find it. It doesn't put it straight away. And oh, now we have to change these guys as well. We have to change them in the material instance as well. And we can just drag and drop the stuff we need as required into the material instance. Give it a save. And oh right, the one last thing I got to do is I have to actually change the master material, since I'd renamed and copied and pasted my master material, because I didn't want to change the name of the actual master material for the next badge I want to make. I want to reuse those parts. So I've got the new master material. I'm going to go ahead and drag that guy. Now it's going to work. Okay. Now I have this little washed out looking badge, right? Let me go ahead and make it a flat badge so I can see it flat. By clicking this little flat icon, can't really see it, can you? Right down here, you can make it a little ball, you can make it a cube, you can make it flat. And so I've got this little flat one selected. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and yeah, it's the right mouse button. There we go. Okay, so it looks a little washed out, and that is because of this little tick box up here that says use single color. We need to make this number 0. Once that number is 0, there we go. We have our badge. Our normal is working, and we can further adjust some stuff about this. If we click on the metallic and the roughness like that, we can start to change how glossy it is. We can make it super flat, make it super glossy, right? And we can do the same thing here with the metallic. We can start sliding it around and make it less or more metallic looking, right? So we can kind of play with our gloss and our metallic. Come on, there we go. Just until we get just what we want. Well, this is where we might get into wanting to do some advanced stuff. And if you're happy with the settings you get from here, you can skip this entire advanced section. Just skip ahead in the video. I'll timestamp it down below so that we can go straight to I just want to export my badge and I want to see it in the game. I'm done. I don't want to do anything else. I'm happy at this point. It's been hard enough. Let me finish. If you want to do that, just skip ahead. But if you want to figure out how to do something like, I want this to be chrome and shiny, and I want the red to be flat, then you might want to follow along with the advanced stuff that we're going to talk about now. Alright, to start making some of our other maps, like a metallic map, an ambient occlusion map, a roughness map, I'm going to introduce you to another piece of software. It's another open source software. It's called Materialize. It's free to download. It's only like 50 megabytes. It's a nice, quick, lightweight program. And it looks a little something like this. Pretty basic, very simple little program. It's got a couple of tutorials on the page to teach you how to navigate it, but it's not too hard to figure out. Let me just kind of walk you through it. It's a little bit weird, but not too bad. So let's go ahead, and up here where it says diffuse map, I'm going to open up our file, which is going to be in the desktop. Okay, so now that I have that little guy open, you'll see that it's pretty flat and boring looking, right? We haven't really done anything with this yet. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is create a height map. We don't actually use the height map, but we need the height map to create all the other maps that we need with this program. Now, you can come over here and you can try to create it. It's difficult to get exactly what I want, because what I want is this. What I want is basically all white where the letters are, all white here, and I want it dark down here. And this is kind of the way that I want it, and you could probably do it by messing with these various sliders, but to me it's easier just to go into GIMP and to get exactly what you're after. So let me just go ahead and open that up. I'll select it, and that'll give me my height map. Now if I try to view this, it looks really weird. This is why we don't use height maps, because it gets this kind of weird thing. However, we're going to use the height map to create some of our other stuff, mainly the ambient occlusion map. So if I go over here and I hit create AO map, and I mess with the sliders, and I've already done this, so I already got the result I want. I just want some thin kind of lines like this, and this will create some ambient shadows around the edges of my fixture to kind of help give it just a little more depth. So I can set that as the ambient occlusion map. Now I can go and I can also create a normal map if I want to. Now we already did this in Substance, And you don't have to use Substance if you're using Materialize. You can skip that step altogether and create your normal map right here. And you'll play with the various settings as needed and hit set as normal map, and then now that guy will be up here. We can create a metallic map. Again, this is one that I did in GIMP rather than creating one, because you can create one like this, but to me it's a little bit easier. Let me go back to GIMP and see. I think this is my metallic map. Yeah, and so the idea is white creates a more metallic surface, gray is a less metallic surface, black is no metallic. Well, black doesn't matter in this case because that's being completely cut out. So I'm mostly focused on this white area here where I want the maximum amount of metallic, and this gray area here where I want a little bit less metallic. So again, I've already made that in GIMP, which is just simply changing the colors around of your base mesh and kind of exporting it. So I'm just going to go ahead and open that up and find my metallic map, save or select it, and then Smoothness Map. Now the Smoothness Map it creates works, but you have to invert it, which is something you have to end up going back into GIMP to do. So you can create a Smoothness Map if you want and set it, but you'll end up having to go into GIMP and inverting it. Hey, tech support has arrived. 1 second, buddy. Alright, so now let's clear out the height map and let's show the full material, and you'll be able to watch it and look at it right here. And so you can kind of see you get a very shiny chrome and a pretty flat looking red, and this will look even better in Unreal Engine. This is just one way. It looks like this here, but the lighting is very different in Materialize than it is in Unreal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start saving these things. I'm going to save this Ambient Occlusion map into the correct folder, right? HR logo, the new logo folder, this one here, and we'll call this guy. Instead of diffuse, we will call it just AO for Ambient Occlusion. And then I'm going to save my metallic map. We didn't have to really do anything. I just made this in GIMP, right? And so I did, right? Hold on, let me go back over there. My metallic map. Let me make sure I save it out of GIMP. Let's go ahead and export it from GIMP. Export as met map, but it's going to go into this guy here, saving it as a TGA file. Export that. And same thing with my roughness map. I had to invert the roughness map for gloss. The gloss map ends up being backwards. So whatever you come up with for your smoothness map in here, called smoothness map, in Unreal it's a roughness map and it's inverted. So we basically just go back. You can take this, save it, open it up in GIMP, invert it by going to colors and invert. It's very simple. And you'll invert the colors, and then you can just export that, right? And so let me go ahead and export as into the folder as I'm calling that roughness invert, so we'll export it. Okay, I think that's everything I need, if I'm not mistaken. I did the AO, did the smoothness, did the metallic. I already have a normal map I'm happy with. I don't need to change that. So now we just go back into Unreal, and we're going to import our new stuff, right? So we have our metallic map, our roughness map, and our ambient occlusion map. Let's open those up and save them. All right, now to get these to work, make it a little bit hokey, we're gonna go in here to our master material, and we are gonna play with these nodes. We're gonna break some stuff. All right, so I think the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just delete. I'm going to come over here to where this metallic map is, and I'm going to break the link. I don't need that. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I don't need it, and these guys are just kind of obnoxiously in the way. Delete those. All right, same thing here. I'm going to break this for the roughness map. I'm going to break that link. Now we're going to delete these guys. Oh, heads up. Should just be able to hit the delete button. Yeah, there it goes. I'll select that and I'll delete that. Okay. And so we're going to leave the texture alone. We're going to leave the normal alone. and I need to add a few of these in here. The way I do that is I can just right click and I'm going to search for texture sample parameter 2D. And I want a new one of those, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to start naming them, right? So I'm going to call this Ambient Occlusion. So this will be my Ambient Occlusion map, which I can just come over here to default textures. So if I come in here and I just search for my Ambient Occlusion map, I'll find it right there. And I can now plug it in. I'm going to grab this little white dude here, and I'm going to go over here to the Ambient Occlusion. I'm going to connect it, just like that. Now we're going to do this 2 more times, right? Let's see if I can maybe get a little bit of organization going here. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Alright, now that I have some room to work, I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So right click in the search bar, I'm going to type in texture parameter, right? Texture sample, sorry. I'm looking for texture sample parameter 2D. Right? I'm going to name this one roughness. Right? Come down here. I'm going to find my roughness map that I just imported. Okay, that's that one right there. Go ahead and select that guy. And so make sure that's the right one. Yeah, roughness inverted. And then I'm just going to take this little guy here and I'm going to connect it to the one that says roughness. Okay, give it a second. Alright, one more time, we're going to right click and we are going to search texture sample parameter 2D, and we will call this one metallic. And I will click on it again, come down here, I'm going to find the metallic map that I've created, and let's throw that guy into the metallic slot like so. Now we're going to come up here up to the top left and hit apply. Okay, now I can open up my instance material. Okay, it is still lost in space. There we are. And make sure now you'll see that I've got, instead of sliders, right, I have images of my little guy here, and you'll see that I have this nice chrome looking badge with a pretty matte flat background. Yeah, that's kind of cool, right? So that's a lot of extra steps for a small bit of benefit, but if you really want to go that route, it's worth playing with, and you'll have to play with it quite a bit. And you're going to need to tinker around with the shade of gray, depending on how much gray you want, or how dull you want this to be, or how shiny you want this to be. And so that's about what I'm after. Now that I have this all set up, we are back into the no longer are we doing the advanced stuff. We're back into doing the regular kind of thing. So back to getting your thing done. Let's go ahead and save these guys real quick. Control click and Control S will save them. Now I'm going to come over here to our example logo mesh. I'm going to open that guy up, and up in the top here is where our material needs to go, and that's where the instance is going to go. So if I grab the material instance that we made and put it over there and turn off this grid, and I can zoom in carefully, and there is my badge in roughly 3-dimensional shape that you're going to see it in the game. That's what it's ultimately about going to look like. Let me see if I can make it any bigger here. Zoom in any more. It's so... the controls are so... watch out for vertigo. Anyway, yeah, that's what we're looking at. That's our badge. Kind of cool, right? Neato. Alright, well, let's export this thing. And a lot of this stuff you can find in the first video, but I'll go ahead and walk you through it one last time. So let's go ahead and save that. We need to make a thumbnail first. In order to make a thumbnail, I'm going to go over to File, and I'm going to come over to your Open Level, and I'm going to go up to Content. I'm just going to search for thumbnail. Search for thumb, and I'm going to want this thumbnail generator level. Let's go ahead and open that guy up there. Ignore all these warnings. Then all we need to do is come over here to a fixture thumbnail generator, and if you open it up and there's all these fixtures here, just hit this little trash can. You can see it, yeah, right there. Just hit that little trash can and empty it. Then add one asset. We're just doing one badge. If you have multiple badges, you can do a bunch of them at one time. I've just got one, so I'm going to grab my little example badge, and I'm going to hit this little arrow right next to this thing that says none. Once you click on the badge right here, click on the badge on the blueprint part, put on that little arrow, and then hit export preview, and you're going to see this little thumbnails folder open up. That's new, right? And that's where our thumbnail is. I'm going to go ahead and save that, and that, for whatever reason, did not create much of a thumbnail, did it? Ninja edit. Don't forget this step here. Open up your blueprint and set a new fixture UID and a new family UID away from the example badges. Otherwise, you're not going to see your mod. Also, don't forget to replace your example badge mesh with your brand new mesh with the logo in it. Then once you do that and redo your thumbnail, you'll see your logo shows up in the thumbnail like it should have. That's why it didn't work last time, because I forgot to put it in the freaking blueprint. Anyway, moving on. Alright, so now we just need to share the mod, right? So come up here to the top of the screen where it says share mod, and your new logo, if you just opened up your program, should be right at the very bottom, HRL example logo. I need to find a place to put it, and let's see, I have a mods folder, and you should probably create one for yourself as well. And let me go ahead and throw a new folder in here real quick, and it's called HRL badge. Let me put it all caps so I can find it more easily. And I'll just throw it in there, hit select, and it's going to start cooking. And all you got to do is wait for the badge to cook, and let's go find out where we're going to put it. So the where you're going to put it, I'm going to go ahead and start opening this up here, is going to be in a particular plugins folder. So you need to find your automation folder, the game folder now, right? Not the SDK folder, but the actual game folder. You open up the game folder, and then you're going to find this UE4.21 folder. Click on that. Click on automation game, click on plugins, and then it's going to go right in here. So let's open up a new, because our badge is now cooked just in time, and I'll try to remember where I put it. Should be in my mods, right there in all caps. Yep. Now I need to, I can't really grab this whole thing. I need to open up the badge, open up Windows No Editor, open up Automation Game, open up Plugins, and then grab this one here that says HRL example logo, and I'm going to copy, or whatever you name yours, right? I'm going to paste it into my plugins folder for the game, and then we can launch Steam and start the game and play around with our badge. When you get to the game launcher, you're probably going to want to do the no launcher option. I think that if you start with the launcher, you may delete your mod. So I just skip it and just go straight to no launcher. It's a good way to test your badge before you publish it onto the workshop. We're going to hit play. Alright, let's check out our badge, shall we? You can see I've got a couple others in here that I did some tests before I actually did this video, but here's the one for the video, right on here. Yeah, alright. Make it a little bit bigger so we can see it a little bit better there. There we go. Yeah, so cool. So you can see because we made that map in the advanced section, you've got this chrome badge with a flat red section here, and of course, you know, if I wanted to go back and maybe this isn't glossy enough for me, or maybe it's not metallic enough for me, you can go and change the metallic map and the gloss map until I get just the right balance that I want. And it's pretty tough to tell exactly what you get until you're in the game, because the game has its own lighting mechanisms that are a little bit different from the one in the editor, that are definitely different from anything you'll see in Materialize or anywhere else. But anyway, there you go. There is your badge mod. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments section below. If you found this helpful, go ahead and like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.